Hello, it's me, Fenton, with Factorio OVEREXPLAINED. I'm back. This is Saturday's episode. Um, I was ill, and I'm still not 100%, but I'm good. I feel good enough to do this. Right, that just finished. Let's just continue to do these researches in no particular order, because we have got the research. We are researching faster than we are expanding currently, so we're going to get all the red and green researches done. What are these perfect night vision glasses? They're part of the mod. They make it presumably so that you just don't ever, it never gets dark, which I assume is the case. I'm just going to get rid of all of the exclamation marks because they're bothering me. Right. Today's plan is advanced circuits are to be done apropos blue science, aka chemical science packs. Because we did the sulfur, we know the sulfur is good. We did the plastic. Let's get red circuits done and dusted, shall we? Let's take some of the assembly machine Mark IIs from the mall, from the hub, from the HQ. That was quick. Put these Mark I machines in there for this, and continue to research stuff. In the new game settings, you can choose to enable the research queue, which lets you queue more than one thing at a time, so you don't have to keep going in here. And that unlocks automatically once you win the game. Launch a rocket. But I didn't turn that on because I felt like it was... yeah. Okay, here's the map, if you're curious. We did talk about bringing blue science... Hello? Control 1? Control 1? Thank you. We did talk about bringing blue science this way and putting it here, because these are our labs there. And I suppose that makes sense, because the bus is not really going to go any further than... well, I don't know. It's going to go a bit further down, because we need to make red circuits somewhere, and then we need to actually make the blue science somewhere, which needs a decent amount of space, because it needs engines, which we'll need to make. Engines are very slow to make, so... wow, that was quick. Yes, I am going to say that every time. And let me just double check that after blue science is sorted, I can do everything robotics related, right? Yes, I can do I can do personal roboports, I can do robotics, I can do construction robots, I can do logistics robots, and all of these need blue science prerequisites as well. And then once we've got robots done, we can start expanding into what's going to be the final base, as I've said several thousand times now, which is going to be roughly here. Probably more like roughly here. Depends on how much ocean there is this way. So yeah, so we don't really need to expand any further down than this. So let's get red circuits done, shall we? Plop an assembly machine down. Click advanced circuits. They're called advanced circuits. Their actual name is advanced circuits. But these are electronic circuits, red ones are advanced circuits, and later down the line there are purple ones. And they're called processing units. Which is here. There we go. They used to be called... there used to be some argument as to whether they were blue or purple. And they changed the sprite ever so slightly to make them quite obviously blue. But it used to be ambiguous. So colloquially we'll call them green, red and blue. I hope that's okay with you. Red circuits need plastic, they need copper cables, and they need electronic circuits in weird ratios. So the first thing we should do is we should do our crafting speed, which is 0.75. So we do, what was it? It was 6 seconds, wasn't it? It was an advanced circuit in 6 seconds. 6 divided by the crafting speed, which is 0.75, is divide by 4 times by 3. No, the other way around. Divide by 3 times by 4 is 8. And I did that in my head. I'm just now opening my calculator so that I can do that. Whoops. Divided by 0.75. Yes, of course, it's 8 seconds. 8 seconds for one craft of this. So in 8 seconds we're going to need 2 plastic bars. That's not going to be a problem. 4 copper cables. Now, here's a good time to talk about things like, why haven't you put copper cables on the bus? Surely, if this needs copper cables, why are you building copper cables here and putting them into machines like this, when instead you could just have them on the bus and do this? And that's a good question. And the reason is that copper cables, you get 2 copper cables for 1 copper plate. Let me just do some more research, including insert a capacity bonus. You get 2 copper cables for 1 copper plate, so it's actually more efficient space-wise to transfer the plates and turn them into cables. You could turn 1 belt of plates into 2 entire belts of cables. And also, recipes that need cables often need them in higher numbers. You know, like if it just needed 1 copper cable, then maybe. Like, if we have a look in FNEI, which, as this is Factorio Overexplained, I will explain it again. This is a mod. There's basically just a library. You can put in something or just pick it out from the list and see how you make it and what it goes into. So if we click copper cables here, the big ticket items, advanced circuits, it needs 4. I mean, even the combinators, it needs 5 at once. Copper cables, it needs 3. Lamps need 3. Beacons need 10. You know, stuff like that. You're better off by compressing your belts. So you bring the copper in because it's more space efficient to move copper about than it is to move copper cables about. Now you may be wondering then, in that case, why don't you put iron gear wheels on the belt? Because iron gear wheels is actually 2 iron plates. It would actually be more space efficient to move iron gear wheels around than it is to move iron plates around. And again, that's a good question. You're very on the ball today. Good for you. The thing with this is that gear wheels, you don't need gear wheels very often. Everything that needs gear wheels tends to end up being in your hub, as opposed to being an actual thing that you're going to make in vast quantities. So, like, science packs, sure, of course, but that's a touch different. I suppose if you look at the map, you could put iron gear wheels on the bus, and then they would go into here, but one assembly machine makes it in so quickly. It's only half a second craft speed. What else did we have here? Burner inserters you don't need. Cargo wagons, the chemical plants, mining drills, engine units in the mall, in the HQ. You do actually need to build these, but one engine unit takes like 20 seconds. Oh yeah, there we go. 20 seconds, 13 and a third seconds, and 8 seconds, based on the different crafting speeds of your assembly machines. And you only need 1. So again, you're not using them in such vast quantities that it's worth putting them on the bus. Splitters, belts, fluid wagons, turrets, inserters, labs, pumps, oil refineries, radars, repair packs, steam engines. I'm not finding anything else that is not just made in the hub. There we go, you see? So it is literally only red science and engine units that need iron gear wheels. So busing an entire belt of gear wheels just for those 2 things, not particularly efficient either. Obviously I've sort of semi-bussed them here in the mall, And when I do the bigger maul, when I do the swanky robot-based maul, which is like one of my favourite bits to do in the whole game, I obviously have a lot of assembly machines making iron gear wheels. I don't directly insert the iron gear wheels into these machines because, yes, at this point it is better to do it like this. But bussing them, not particularly relevant, for reasons I hope I have made clear just there. Okay. Now, where were we? 8 seconds. 8 seconds to make an to make an advanced circuit. Thank you, insert capacity bonus. There's the next one. There it is. This one's good because this makes our non-stack inserter capacities higher as well. So our fast inserters will pick up 2 items at once, which will certainly help, especially for this particular build. 4 copper cables in 8 seconds. One of these can make 2 copper cables in half a second. That's 4 per second, but the crafting time needs to be divided by 0.75. So that's 2 copper cables in 2/3 of a second. Whereas we needed, what did we say? 4 in 8 seconds. So that's 1 every 2 seconds. So we own, and this makes, what did we just say? 2 in 1/3 of a second. Yes. So 1 every 1/3 of a second. So this makes the copper cables are 1 per 0.333, repeating of course, and we actually need 1 per, what did I just say? 2 seconds. So that's 6. So 1 copper cable machine can, which is obviously of course just 2, divided by 0.333 is 6. Dividing by 1/3 is the same as timesing by 3. This is the same as, this is the inverse of this. That's maths, folks. See, I'm not totally stupid. So for every we can put 6 around here, and that doesn't mean that you can have some real swanky builds like this. Like, ooh, that's fancy, isn't it? That's the wrong way. You could do something like this. Problem is where you bring in the copper in this example. Good question. Doesn't really work. So you could, at this point, just bus your copper cables, and as long as you keep it at ratio, so if I build 2 of these, I could build 12 assembly machines, and I think that's the best way to go about it, because it's scalable, I suppose. So let's, I keep zooming in and out, I hope that's not making anybody motion sick. I just kind of do it as like a compulsion while I'm stood here doing nothing. Question is how many advanced circuits do we need? This makes 1 in 8 seconds, and we're going to need 3 in 24 seconds times the crafting speed. Just divide by 3 is 8, times by 4 is 32. We're going to need 3 every 32 seconds. I'm going to get 1 every 8 seconds. This was about, what did I say? 3 for every 32 seconds. Oh god, the math. The math is just too much. It's too much for me. I've hit my limit. Let's just make some bloody red circuits, shall we? And we'll go with 4 assembly machines making copper cables. Here we go. Shift right click to copy, shift left click to paste a recipe. And we'll bring copper in. Actually, if we're gonna say 4 like this, then that is 24 assembly machines making red circuits. We need to see if 24 assembly machines making red circuits is going to be. We can't go over 15 items per second because that is obviously the hard limit of our belt speed. And if we're only using 2 in 8 seconds, that's 1 in 4 seconds. we'd have to be doing, you know, we'd have to have quite a lot of these in a row to be going over 15 per second. You know, 1 in 4 seconds. 4 of those would be 1 a second, then times by 15 is 60. So we need 60 of these. So I'm not worried about going over that. What I should be thinking about halves, actually, because what I'll probably do is I'll probably, and I say probably like I've not done this 1,000 times, is have one belt of copper cables, because copper cables is obviously the biggest input there with 4, and have this belt. So this belt will be copper cables, and this belt will be a shared belt of green circuits and plastic, like this. So let's do that. And I have over-explained this enough now. Let's just start building it. Is this in a good space? It's in an okay space. If I want to expand this, then obviously I've got this space here, and I've got this space here. I'm not going to need more sulfur on this side. That's just not going to happen. If anything, I might need more plastic on this side, in which case I'll just move the sulfur, because it's not that complicated of a build. This is fine. Just bloody go with it, okay? Question is, does the copper come in like this and then go down like this? And then a secondary belt here. I think that's probably going to be the way to do it, with an underground. Yeah, an underground there and there. So then my copper, that's the wrong way, my copper will come in like this and be output onto these 2 belts, side loaded into a whole belt. And then my split belt of green and plastic will come in here like this, and I'll sort that out in a second, and go down like this, and then leave a space for the inserters. Will be like this. Now the recipe is slow enough to not have to worry about the speed of the long-handed inserters, because obviously if this is my copper here like this, then my copper is being inserted quickly on this side because the fast inserters are grabbing from this belt, but slowly on this side because the long-handed inserters are picking up the copper from this side. Because we just did our inserter capacity bonus, that means that we're going to pick up 2 copper cables per rotation, and this obviously does not take 8 seconds to make 2 rotations, so we're fine on that front. Power. Oops. Output belts. Which way is this going to go? Let's go like this, shall we? Side load this, because we know that the output of this is going to be on the outside, and that was a bad place to stand to do that. It's going to be on the outside of this belt, so we can, doesn't matter where it is on this side, it's going to side load onto this, and we'll have a vaguely balanced belt. And I'll do one of my simple balancers on that side, because I still don't really feel the need to do a main balancer. Right. Red circuits. Now this is a good, explanation of doing some builds like this, is to try and plan it all at once. Like, you can put your copper down and go, right, this is simple enough, but how does that affect, this? And I mean, it's a bit janky, of course it is, because we've got a gap here for like literally no reason. There doesn't need to be a gap here. And this is coming down and across, and it's a bit of a waste of time. Like, I suppose in theory you could have these 3 apart. No, not 3 apart at all. That is not what I meant. What did I mean to say? What was my idea here? Can't remember. There are of course ways to build it so that you output. So here you could have one input coming in there, another input coming in there, and an output there like that. And then you could mirror that on this side. So that you're grabbing from here, grabs these undergrounds from this belt. You would need these. Oh, no, that doesn't work because you can't output from this side onto this belt. I mean, you could with some side loading. It's up to you, basically. This would be a very good time to just experiment with designs and what you like, and this is really the first design where you've got that sort of freedom. Everything else is just one thing in and one thing out, or two things in and one thing out. So you just do shared belts and stuff. And like green circuits is, you know, this is the ratio of green circuits. Let me just kick some more research off. This is the first build where you've really got that sort of freedom to build it how you think it looks nice. I'm going to move this in because, as you can see, if it was moved in one tile, then the power poles would reach, so I will do that. And of course this becomes a lot easier, as everything does with robots, where you can just delete it and the robots will delete it all for you, and copy and paste it, you know, cut and paste it even. We haven't even gotten to cutting yet, because there's no point. Cutting doesn't actually do anything. I mean, it does. It literally does. It marks it for deconstruction and then just straight away pastes it down. But like marking it for deconstruction at this point it is irrelevant because we don't have the robots to fulfill that task for us automatically. Alright, so that's as far as my power poles can go. So that's what I said I would do. And then, you know what? I kind of hate this now that I'm looking at it. There's a better way. There's a better way to do this. And it probably involves two belts. Now, a red-handed inserter won't pick up enough copper, so you can't do this system on this side. Red's in on one side and red's out on the other side. It just wouldn't be fast enough. Is there some jank you can do with a single belt to mix an input and an output? I believe there is. Where you thread... I mean, bearing in mind we've also got to thread the shared belt of green circuits and plastic through. This is probably more trouble than it's worth. Get that across there, take up as much space as possible. So I mean, if this was in, and then this would also be in here, but then this could be out, like this, and this looks extremely wrong, of course. But then there's no way to move it. Like if you put an underground there, it kind of just breaks it. It tries to attach it to that, and no amount of rotating it is ever going to fix that. And then of course you would need to do the same on this side. You would need to go in and in for copper, and oops, out and out for this, and you just don't then have enough space. It'd be nice if that worked in some way. And of course it could. Especially if this didn't need to go this way. I wonder if I could side load some stuff here. If I got this one to go this way, and then side loaded it like this, and then turned that into an underground, like that, and then it went that way. So now the copper and the copper cables come in and out in one. I mean, it looks ugly, and the flashing doesn't help, of course. Let me use some pylons to bring the main power supply down, because the main power supply is kind of a bit all over the place at the moment. I'll just bring it over from here. I mean, this is where the power is coming from, of course. Perfect. Ish. For certain values of perfect, it is perfect. Alright. Let's get this going, shall we? Am I going to need copper for anything else now? No. All the copper I have can now just go in here. Now, of course, I've built this the wrong way around. It would be nice if it was the other way around, because now these two have to somehow go in here. And, let's get the power connected like that. There we go. So, this inserter is picking up from this underground, and it's going into this machine, and the same on this side. But the outputs are going onto this belt, which is of course not attached in any way to these two undergrounds. And then that's going this way. Just to explain exactly what's wrong with it. Oh, nothing's wrong with it. It's just picked everything up and it doesn't have anything else. Alright, so then let's underground this. Don't need any more green circuits for anything else ever now. Same with the plastic. Quick! Oh, just about made it. Sideload those two. Set another research going. Those are sneaking in underground there, and there we go. And I said I could do I could support 24 of these with this. Can I support 24 of these with the plastic I'm making and the green circuits I'm making? God knows. Let's just build it, shall we? I will copy and paste it just to give me a sort of paint by numbers. Excuse me? Oh, transport belt is in the way. Right, okay. I can't copy and paste the very first one because it's slightly different here because of the pure spaghetti jack that I've built. It's not spaghetti if it works, right? Is that not how it goes? These obviously don't need to be blue-handed inserters on the way out. They probably don't even need to be blue-handed on the way in. What's power looking like? I mean, power's so fine that I'm just not worried about it. So, alright, that's 8. So then I can copy and paste this one because... Oh, excuse me. Because it's correct. 16, 24. That's quite a lot. I'd be surprised if we can actually support this with what we have. Don't know why I built those. It's going to end there. Or rather start there. I'm out of belts! My god. My god. Control left click picks up half of... Control right click, sorry, picks up half of the box. Half of everything in the box. You can end there, because nothing is ever getting picked up from any further than that. Whoops. Power poles you can click and drag, and it puts the power poles on the ghost locations for you. Then that means that you can click and drag your assembly machines, because the only spaces available for them are the ghost spots. If you place the assembly machine down on a ghost spot of an assembly machine, it knows that that's the recipe you wanted. Can't click and drag the inserters, unfortunately. Just have to click in all of the required spaces. Concrete, sure, why not? Can click and drag in this scenario because obviously you can't place an insert on top of an assembly machine, so... Oh, I missed one. holding left click and moving it over the spaces where the blue inserters are, and that's why an extra one got placed. I was one short! The outrage! 2 iron plates short of a picnic. Just give me all of those. I don't care how much it is, just... Right. Which one was it? Oh god. This is the problem with ghosties, is that it's there, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. Okay! So here we can see it's not really a failing of the basic balancer system. If we follow this all the way around, this side of the belt here is then going onto the top side, all the way along there, all the way down there, and then because it's on the outside on the bus, it is loading on, it's side loading onto this first, because obviously the empty spaces are on this side. The inside is potentially going to go if these spaces ever make it to the what is currently the outside of the belt. So only these two are ever going to work. It's not really a problem. But this is probably then a good time to talk about a single lane balance, a single belt balancer, which balances both lanes. Because it's probably a good idea to do that from here. Right. As we explored before, if you do this with a belt, what happens is regardless of the lane, and of course a belt is made up of 2 lanes, the top and the bottom, or the left and the right, depending on how you're looking. Regardless of the lane, when it goes through here, 50% are going to come this way, and then they're going to be side loaded onto the top, and the other 50% are going to come this way and be side loaded onto the bottom, irrespective of which lane they are on. If the downside to this is that if absolutely everything is on the top lane, the throughput is not going to be as high as it could be, because because if I make this as a dead end there, it's going to back up as soon as, when the belt's full, you know, this belt is not doing anything, but this is empty and this is empty. It's extremely marginal, of course. Of course it is. But that doesn't work for Facebook, the Factorio engineers. Let's get the old blueprint book out, shall we? I quickly touched on blueprints last time. I have a blueprint book here for balancers. And as you can see, this is the 1 belt. When you open a blueprint book, I downloaded this from a text string. You can just import a text string, which is incredibly handy. So where is my single belt? There, here it is. So this is a belt, a single belt, but also lane balancer, and it works very strangely in a way that is obvious when I explain it. And it uses the fact that an underground, if we zoom right in here to an underground, and if we try and side load on an underground, probably from the other side is better. If we try and side load from an underground, you lose this goes away, but that means that only this lane of the belt goes in. Anything here will just be backed up completely. And you can use that to make a lane balancer. So let's do the same thing that we just did, but we'll follow it with the lanes. So the red line is going to be, excuse me, hello? The red line will be the top lane. So half of them go this way on the top lane, and they go here, but they hit a dead end because they can't do anything. Which means basically, after a very small amount of time, this is backed up, so then 100% of them go this way, and then they come here, and they get backed up. That surely can't be right. I feel like I've misbuilt that. That can't make any sense at all. What? Mistakes have been made here, folks. Grenades this time. I've misbuilt this in some way. Get the blueprint book back out. I can't even copy and paste it correctly. Where did it go? There it is. What did I do wrong here? This is the wrong way around. There we go. Alright, quick, get rid of it. I was not done explaining it. Not done explaining it. Right, okay. That still doesn't look like it makes any sense to me. That still looks wrong. What have I done? What on earth have I done here? Yeah, it's still wrong. This is this. But the belt is going that way. Okay, right, he's done it. He's managed to paint by numbers. Alright. The top lane of the belt. Half of them come this way, but they hit this dead end here, so then in fact, eventually, after a very small amount of time, this belt is backed up. So 100% of the top lane comes this way. It hits this underground, and it can get through this part of the underground, and it comes this way. And then half of them come this way, and then they get loaded onto the belt, right? So that balances the top lane over both sides of the belt. The bottom lane does the opposite of that. So the bottom lane hits this splitter, it goes here and gets backed up, and eventually that means when it gets backed up, 100% of them are coming here, and they're hitting this underground, and they go under the underground. This has to be an underground so that you get this effect here of it stopping. And then they come in, they hit this splitter, half of them then go this way and hit this, and the other half go on the bottom of this splitter and go this way. Which does, on the bottom, and then it goes underground, hits this splitter, goes, yeah, that does lane balance. So if I fill this with some grenades, and they go on the bottom, but then I just drop some random grenades on the top, it will still balance them evenly, regardless of how many grenades I drop on the top here. This output of the belt will still be half of everything. So obviously as one lane comes through, it's 2 at a time, 2 at a time, 2 at a time. But if I just put some on the top here, you'll see that here, yeah, so just there where I threw a few extra grenades on, it's still 2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. It is extremely marginal, as I have said. It is... But it does have its uses, and it does need to be explained, and I don't want to just plop it down and go, alright, that's a single lane, single belt lane balancer. There you go, it's obvious, isn't it? I've explained that now. And you can see the various instances here where this is fine, but could it be a bit better? Maybe. Does it need to be? In this exact scenario? No. Right. That's advanced circuits sorted out. Now all we need to do, and I'll just do this because I can. Oh no, plastic does go into blue science. Oh no, it's sulfur. And oh, I had to build engine units. All we would need now is some assembly machines here making blue science, and engine units need iron and steel. I think you need, I think it's 12? I don't know, I'll double check it, but it's going to be roughly the same kind of build as this. except this will be engines, and because engines is a lot more complicated than just copper in, copper cables out, the engines will probably be over here, and I'll bring the engines in, and then so I'll have a line here of engines, this split belt here of sulfur and advanced circuits, and then in fact I might even just build these this way so that the belt can start going this way and up that way to where the labs are. And I will do that off camera because it's going to be roughly, as I say, it's going to be roughly the same as this. It's going to be the same system, but just in a line, and I'll explain in engine units when it's done, because you don't want to watch me build it, because we spent ages explaining this. I suppose that is the point of this Factorio over-explained. Okay, I feel like that was advanced circuits over-explained enough for you. Of course, you don't need to then balance this belt if you're just going to side load it onto half a lane anyway, so whatever. That was kind of irrelevant, that. Same with this plastic, just side loading it onto half a belt doesn't really need to be balanced at all. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please let me know with either a like or a comment. And if you want to see more Factorio over-explained, be sure to subscribe. Very soon I will be on Ninches96's channel, which is linked in my channel, playing Netrunner. Good old Netrunner, you remember that? So go and check that out. I'll obviously make more of a hoo-ha about that when it's actually done and dusted, but we're just recording stuff at the moment, but that's coming. Keep an eye out for that. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.